Welcome to Still City Growth. I'm your host, Bill Ildenfritz. Each week, we'll explore the passions, expertise, and experiences of business owners and founders in the greater Pittsburgh area. Still City Growth is proudly sponsored by Murphy Business of Pittsburgh, committed to providing exceptional services to meet all your business needs. Let's dive in. So be honest with me here. Are most business brokers actually trying to really help the sellers, or you think they're just chasing commissions? Good morning. Very excited to talk to my next guest. As a business broker, I'm overly passionate about this next podcast. She's a skilled leader with over 20 years of experience leading teams across functions like operation, sales, and executive management. She is currently the CEO of Murphy Business and Financial Corporation. Veronica Cardinale-Ellinger, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you today, Bill?
Doing fantastic.
Fantastic.
Looking forward to talking to you and spending some time with you today.
I'm looking forward to spending some time with you.
Excellent. Ready for the first question?
Let's go.
All right. What is the number one most important strategy for growing your business?
Well, for me, it's focus. I have something that I've lived with for many years now. I say it often to myself. It's what you focus on, you find. You cannot find something without like truly having laser focus on that end goal. So for Murphy, that means zeroing in and helping our brokers close deals, making sure that we're recruiting the right people who share our values. And growth isn't really about doing everything, right? It's about doing the right things and doing them really, really well.
I love that answer, especially as a broker in your organization. I love that answer. I love how over the last several months you brought that definitely to the organization. So I love that and respect that for sure.
Thank you.
How important is culture to business?
Well, culture to me is everything. It always has been with every organization that I've lived, with the businesses that I've owned. You can have the best systems, you can have the best marketing, you can have the best technology, but without the right people and those people being aligned, things will fall apart. So, Murphy's culture is all about integrity, collaboration, and supporting one another. You know, business brokerage can be competitive. But the cool thing about Murphy is even though we love to be in that top ranking, we also want to support one another. We want to help each other grow by teaching each other. And that's what Murphy's about. And that's no doubt why I'm here is that collaborative spirit. And that's an amazing part of our culture.
I agree. And I always say that, business buyers don't just buy financials. They buy culture, leadership,
You better
legacy.
believe
So
it.
that's really important.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's definitely
absolutely.
very, very important. What is your thoughts on buying a business currently?
So I think it's really a great time. There are so many opportunities out there. There's retiring owners, and there's some really strong businesses out there that are ready for a next chapter. Buyers today have access to better financing options and a wider marketplace. So there's lots of options out there. The key is knowing how to find the right fit and not rushing, right? And that's where a business broker comes into play, is they can help you go in the right direction.
Yeah, and I'll throw this in. What is a business broker? I guess we should say it for our audience. How would you define a business broker?
Business broker is someone that they're a consultant, right? They're consultative. They are your partner. They are by your side through this journey of buying a business. And buying a business or selling a business is one of the biggest things you'll ever do in your life, right? Typically, people that buy businesses, they want something of their own. They want a legacy, and you want to make sure you're making the right decision, and you want to make sure you're making right decisions. So that's why you would use a business broker.
Excellent. How about selling? I mean, same time, I guess, but buying
Same
and selling
thing.
is a good
Same
time.
thing.
Yeah.
The business is their legacy. I had a business for many years, and I put a lot of sweat and tears and work and hours into that business. And I loved my employees, and I loved the children that I cared for, that my staff cared for. I had child care centers back in the day, and I would never want to turn that over to someone I didn't trust, right? I want to make sure that they get the business because I worked really hard to get it where it was before I decided to sell it.
Excellent. Let me ask you this: what since you did have a business, what did you look for in a business broker? If you were partnering with a business broker, what kind of qualities should a business broker have?
So I would want them to be incredibly confidential. There's things that you share with your business broker that shouldn't ever go outside of the room. I would want them to be honest. I would want them to tell me the hard things, right? Like, this may look pretty on the outside, but it's ugly in the inside. I would need to hear that. Um, I would need them to be compassionate, to understand that I might be going through waves of emotions during the buy or the sell. And they almost have to be a little bit of a psychiatrist in some ways, right? To be able to really deal with the emotions that you go through either buying or selling a business.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just elaborate on what are some of the things you feel as say you're selling a business. What are some of those feelings you do feel?
Oh, great question. Um, You know, I think the first thing you feel, and I'm gonna say selling your business, right? I think the
Hmm. Hmm.
first thing you feel is a little bit of fear of losing who you are, right? You've put so much time, like I said, sweat, love, tears into a business. It is who you base yourself on, right? And I felt this way, not just selling businesses, but also stepping into different careers, right? Because you become what you sell, or you become that business. So I think that's probably the biggest emotion, is understanding that, yes, it's going to be scary. This is part of me and I'm ready to move on. But then also, being able to embrace the feeling that you have of the excitement of stepping away and doing something new and challenging yourself, or getting to take a break and go on more vacations, right? So I think your head probably swims with a lot of emotions. Well, mine does, but I'm sure everyone's does.
No, I totally agree. One of the questions I definitely ask is, if I sell your business today, what would you do tomorrow?
Uh-huh.
To start, so you start thinking about that. What are you going to do tomorrow?
And
Because
so,
I agree.
and sometimes we don't think about that enough, especially those of us, like yourself and like me, that are very motivated by what we do. We just live in the moment of, I love what I do, and this is it. But really, there is something else coming, and we do need to be prepared for it, and we do need to start thinking about what that is, because that next journey is going to be just as fabulous.
I agree. I totally agree. How do you feel right now? The economy and the tariffs are kind of affecting buying, selling businesses right now.
So it's a great question. I don't like to talk about it a lot because I believe in trying to stay incredibly positive, but it is something we have to talk about and we have to think about. Um, you know, Markets have always shifted. That doesn't change. Tariffs, interest rates, economic cycles, but businesses still change hands. Because life happens. There's retirement, there's relocation, there's new opportunities that come along, there's illness, there's all kinds of things. So, what we're seeing is buyers and sellers are asking really smart questions, and learning and leaning from our brokers, leaning on our brokers, to navigate that uncertainty that may be out there for some. A good broker always keeps deals moving, even when the economy throws us curveballs, which it did the beginning of this year. But things are starting to look better, and we're seeing a more positive kind of turn right now.
I agree. Okay. What do you think is the number one mistake that business owners make before they try to sell?
Mhm. Number one is probably not knowing what their business is really worth. They either overestimate what it's worth or they undervalue their business. And that's why they should have a business broker, because they can really get behind the scenes and do a valuation so that when they go to market, they're able to sell and they're not just spinning their wheels.
Yeah, if you don't mind, elaborate a little bit on that. That's the point. Some business owners think it's really worth $1 million. They think it's 5 million, or vice versa. It's worth $1 million. They think it's 500. Tell me the difference. What are they thinking?
Well, for the business owners that think that their businesses are worth so much more money, right? They're not really looking behind the curtain at maybe the amount of debt that they have. They may not be looking at maybe the equipment that they have that really isn't worth anything anymore. Or maybe they're renting and they don't have real estate, but they're kind of factoring that in that they have this beautiful facility. I think it's very, very common also that we value our business by emotion. We were talking about emotion a few questions back. This is my baby. This is my legacy. I've worked so hard, right? This is, I've made a good living in this business. So they feel that it's worth so much more than it is.
I agree. What is evaluation? Tell me a little bit more about the valuation.
Yeah,
What does that do?
valuation is when your business broker comes in and looks kind of behind the hood. They look at your books. They look at what the business is truly worth. They look at the debt, right? They look at everything from the revenue to cost of goods, cost of sales. So they're really getting in and taking a look at all the details and then doing a valuation that makes sense to go to market with.
Perfect. If you had to sell a business tomorrow, what's the first thing you would do?
I get my books in order. We just said it, right? I get under that hood and give it a good polish and a good shine, and make sure that everything was exactly the way it was supposed to be. It's really easy as a business owner to kind of tweak your books a little bit here and there to look good for certain reasons. But when you're selling, I can promise you they're going to look really deep and hard, and it's got to be correct. So clean financials, organized records, a clear story on how your business makes money, like understanding truly how does your business make money, where does revenue come from, all those different buckets. That preparation is what builds trust, and trust is going to be what gets the deal done.
With all that said, let me ask you this. You know, how long should you contact your broker? If you want to sell it 2 years from now, 3 years from now, should you wait to 2 or 3 years, or should you contact them earlier, and
You
why?
really need to work with a business broker early. I think personally it's a minimum of 5 years. And I know for some, you think 5 years, I'm not even thinking about selling. But what if something does happen? You just want to make sure that you have a partner, even if it's just a quarterly conversation on how are things going. We've had a bad year. This year we're gonna, recoup some revenues, whatever it might be, so that you're having those really strategic conversations and you're ready to go when the day comes.
Yes, definitely. I think we kind of touched on this, but do you think most business owners know what your company is worth, or do you think most of them have it wrong?
I would say they almost always have it wrong, Bill. I would say more than 90% of the time they have it wrong, right? Unless they've been through this multiple times, right? Um, and it's not really their fault, right? It's not a criticism to business owners. Again, there's so much emotion that goes into the business. They're just too close to it emotionally. They see through the lens of years of sweat equity, and that valuation process by a professional is truly going to give them the reality check that they need.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Do you think buyers care more about numbers or the people, or what are they really looking for when they're looking for that business to buy?
Both. I think the numbers have to work, no doubt about it. That's probably a non-negotiable at the end of the day, the numbers. But buyers also care deeply about the people, the culture, right? The organization that they're getting into. They want to see themselves fitting right into that business. um, that's why the matchmaking part is so important, right? And that's what we call it. It's really is matchmaking at the end of the day, right? Making sure that they feel like their personality, right? That they're thinking about their own legacy, and that this is something they're willing to put a lot of time into, so they can um, eventually get the best deal, right? And have the best business possible for them personally.
Yes. If you can give an entrepreneur one piece of advice to prepare for exit, what would it be? You kind of touched on
I
this
did.
already.
Start early, right? Right. Start early. I would say that 5-year plan is really important. 5 years prior to retirement, you really need to get in touch with a business broker. You need to start preparing. You need to get under that hood. You need to clean up the books, right? You need to build systems that don't rely on you, right? So many of us, just have our little spreadsheet back there that we do, or maybe it's a piece of paper. You need to make sure that you have some systems that you can turn over. And, a prepared seller, I think, always gets the best deal as well.
I agree. Can you elaborate? I know one of the things I talk to business owners about is, can they step back? If they went on vacation for a week, does your business have the system, as you mentioned, to keep
Exactly.
running? What's your thoughts on that?
Exactly. I think it's incredibly important. I always say, and we may talk about this as we go on for a few more questions, but I always say that you should make sure you're working on your business, not in your business, right?
Mm,
Especially if it's a business that has multiple individuals that are employed. They should be the ones working in the business. You teach them to work in the business, they do the day to day so that you can walk away, and you are working on the business to continue to grow it and prepare for things like this.
yeah, I love that advice.
Mhm.
But be honest with me here. Are most business brokers actually trying to really help the sellers, or you think they're just chasing commissions?
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, like any industry, there are good and there are bad players. I can tell you that we have a broker in our system that always likes to use the word "stay away from the sharky business brokers." You may know who that is. But at
Hmm.
Murphy, our entire model is built on integrity and service. And I really do recommend that, if you go to murphybusiness.com, I've done some articles on ethics and our culture and the reason why we are different than many business brokers out there. We've always put our clients first. We're all about confidentiality. I just put an article out there about, we could easily, with some specific vendors and agencies out there, we can work the numbers to get up in the rankings, but then we have to, share certain things, certain data that I don't want to share because it's not fair to the people that we work with, those business owners that need that confidentiality. So that was Roger Murphy's legacy. That was the founder of Murphy Business. And one of the things I committed to was making sure to live by his legacy, which was trust and confidentiality and all the good things that you can do as a business broker.
I totally agree. Just a very quick story. When I became a broker to Murphy, I went on a discovery day with Murphy and a different one. And when I was flying home from the second one, that's what stood out was I met Roger for a few minutes, but the whole team talked about ethics, integrity, and not overvaluing, and not just try and go after commission. Really take care of your client. That's what really caught my attention, and he was so sincere about that. I mean, he looked you dead in the eye, like we're ethical, integrity. That's what really impressed me about Murphy.
I'll tell you, when I took over Murphy, that was one of the things that really attracted me, was knowing that they had this amazing, strong, ethical history. I've worked for multiple companies like that, and unfortunately, I've been involved with some companies that weren't. And at this time in my life, I want to make sure I'm working with the good guys.
Yeah, I love that. So I think we learned a lot from you. Let's learn now a little bit about you personally. So, did you know you would always be running and growing companies?
Uh, you know, uh, Not really. I mean, I came from a very entrepreneurial family. My mother was a broker for a real estate business and was very successful and had many, many agents that she had brought on. My dad owned a car dealership. My grandfather had a graphic arts business. My brother went to University of Miami, and as soon as he graduated, he opened his own electrical engineering business. And when I graduated, I was like, well, what am I going to be? I need to own a business. So I mean, that was really all I knew from my family. So I opened my own businesses very young. I was in my 20s when I opened my first business, and a couple of years later, opened my second. And as life went on, it was childcare. And I got married and I had children. I realized that it, it, it wasn't for me per se right now as raising kids. So I stayed home with my kids for a while, and that was kind of the vehicle to get me into leadership and operations. But I think from there on, I knew that I would always lead a company because that's what I enjoy doing. And I enjoy building great cultures.
Hmm. So, what brought you to Murphy?
Ryan Murphy. So I was looking for what I would consider the encore part of my career. I've worked for a lot of different industries, primarily franchise. I have a deep love for franchising and for franchisees because I love business owners, right? That's from the story from when I was a kid. So when
Hmm.
Murphy came along and was looking for someone to lead them, it just made total sense. It was like the puzzle came together, right? I loved franchising. I really loved leading. And then I had this business that was a franchise and business owners. They were franchisees but they're also selling businesses, right? They're selling that American dream. So it just made sense to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. What makes Murphy franchise different?
We've said it over and over. Trust, integrity, collaboration, the fun that we have together, the people in this business who have been around for a really long time, and we're growing. There's so many new things that are happening right now for Murphy. We're modernizing quite a bit. Murphy's been around a long time, so it's time to really grow and step into the next business chapter of business brokerage, and really become more modernized.
I agree. I agree with that. You definitely are advancing things. I love it as a broker for sure.
Good.
Where do you see Murphy in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, good question. So we do have a 5-year strategic plan. Started creating that plan pretty much the day I walked through the door. The CEO that was in my seat prior to this, fantastic, wonderful guy, but he was really tasked to stabilize Murphy, right? To kind of clean up all the things from a founder-owned business that happen, right? Kind of like getting under the hood and fixing all the books and doing all that. And I've been tasked to growth and culture, and that's why I took the position because I love that. So the next 5 years, we're going to see a big difference in technology. We're already there. We're getting ready to launch our brand new um, uh, Murphy OS system, which is a business operating system, which is ready to launch the end of September. Um, we are also growing our support team for our franchisees. So lots of support, including business coaching, brokerage support, marketing. There is no doubt that we are putting a lot of fire under marketing and again, modernizing there, doing things like this, which are really exciting. And last but not least, brand development. We have a goal of bringing on quite a few new franchisees within the next 5 years, but not just any franchisee. We want to bring in the right people, and we're being very strategic about that. This year alone, we've already brought on 7. We will definitely hit our goal. I'm not going to tell you what the goals are yet, but they're pretty hefty. But we're being very strategic. When we have a franchisee that comes to meet with us, they need to know what they're getting into. They need to have a why. They need to fit into the culture. So we're not just going to say yes to everyone just because they want to buy a business.
Yeah, I like that. What what do you see the business brokering uh, future looking like over the next 3 to 5 years?
I think it's going to be incredible. We have baby boomers that are getting ready to retire, and we're going to have a huge influx of businesses that are selling. So I think there's going to be a major place for anyone that wants to get into this type of industry. I think more and more business owners are going to rely on business brokers because they want to have that safe transaction, someone that they can rely on to get them through it smoothly without a lot of headaches. And for Murphy, we're going to focus more on lower middle market and M&A. We're already very well known for that, but we're going to put more time into it to make sure that our brokers are really ready to take on that type of business.
Perfect. Yeah, tell me a little bit about that training wise, because you guys have revamped that. And what is, say, I'm a new franchise today. Kind of how do you train me? What makes you special?
Yeah. So they prior to them even training, they come to a meet the team day in Clearwater, Florida, which is a great place to visit. They get to meet all of the staff at the corporate office, including all the executives. It's kind of like an interview. You interview us as a business broker, and we interview you as a possible candidate to come on to our organization. And then once they decide that they'd like to be part of Murphy, we give them a onboarding program that they start doing primarily at home. There's some online training that they have to complete. There may be some state regulation stuff that they need to do within their location. And then they come to Florida for a full week and they do a training here in our Clearwater office. And it's amazing training. We do everything from the really technical, analytical type skills training plus sales training. We give them fantastic soft skill training as well. They get to meet their business coach while they're here, make a relationship with them, and get that business coach on their schedule immediately after training. So they have that mentorship going on immediately. We also have a national conference that we do yearly, which is fantastic. Tons of training that all our brokers come to. It's not only fun, but a great learning experience. We also have, masterminds training and advanced education, everything you could think of. There's always somewhere to go or someone to speak to learn from.
Yes. I will tell you, one of the things I love is I can write an email to all the brokers out there, and I wake up the next morning and there's 20, 30, 40, 50 responses. Like Murphy really wants to help each other. We're not competitive. We all have that little fire, but we're all extremely helpful to each other. I love that and respect that for
Exactly.
sure.
And I shared earlier, that's what I loved about this organization is, yeah, they want to help. They all want to be
Yeah.
mentors. They want to see the new guys succeed. And I love that.
Yeah. What do you think some of the skills and like say past experiences makes for a good broker, a good franchisee?
So great question. I think that's changed a bit, probably since I've come on board. There were a couple of years of some franchise development that we did that we didn't see a lot of success in the brokers that were brought on. So we've really looking at the archetype, right? What does that individual look like? Do they have to understand financials? Would it help if they've worked for a corporation or if they worked in finance? Yes, it helps, but a lot of that can be learned. What sometimes can't be learned is the relationship building. And it is the most important part of this business. So we want brokers that have a really good EQ, emotional intelligence. We want them to really understand marketing and sales. They need to understand that they need to get out, they need to build relationships, not just with business buyers and sellers, but with referral sources out there, right? They need to get out in their community. They need to be the face of Murphy in their community.
Excellent. What? Tell me a little bit. I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but you brought on a new person to help with marketing and branding.
Mhm.
What are some of the? I mean, you're just doing some exciting things. Can you mention a few of them? Just if I want to be a franchisee, what are a couple of things that make it different to join
Yeah,
you
yeah,
versus
yeah.
one of our
So I
competitors?
think the first one would be marketing, right? We just brought on a new director of marketing. Her name is Susan Bishop. Shout out to her. She's doing a fabulous job. She's running fast. But not only is she focusing on just typical marketing and branding of Murphy, but she's also an asset to our franchisees if they need something done in their community marketing wise, if they need someone to get behind the scenes in their website, for example, and make some changes to landing pages, help them with their SEO. She will take on special projects with certain marketing material and mailings that maybe they need. She's also running our direct mail department. We still have direct mail. You got to remember, we have a lot of business owners that are baby boomers that still love to go to their mailbox. So we have a whole
Mhm.
department that is dedicated to that. But now the modernized approach as well. She'll help you with LinkedIn ads and articles and all your social media, which our brokers are getting more and more comfortable doing. And she's definitely helping with that. With our business coach, she's a professional business coach. She's someone that would hold a new broker or a seasoned broker to some accountability, right? When you're a business owner, or you decide to become a business owner, you think, okay, well, I'm going to have all this autonomy, which you will, which is fantastic. But the last thing we want is a new business broker to come out of training, go home, set up their nice little office, look at their business cards and their nice business card holder, and wait for the phone to ring from the direct mail program. Nothing's going to happen, right? But to have a weekly call with someone that's going to say to you, what organizations did you join this week? Did you get out to BNI? Did you go to the chamber? What luncheons did you have this week? What are you doing behind the scenes in your social media, your website? And just keeping them accountable and on the move, and making sure that even in that first year of business that they're putting in ample amount of time to ramp up their business so that they can have a successful start.
No, I agree with you. They're definitely making a difference. I respect them both. They're doing a great job. Great job. So you mentioned culture a couple times here now, several times. Tell me a little bit, what's the culture of Murphy? What are you trying to implement here over the next couple of years by
I
culture?
mean, the culture's solid. We talked about this already a little. I don't think that I'm trying to really implement anything new. What I'm trying to do is create growth, right? Um, Grow Murphy, but have a respect for its history. Because the history of Murphy already has a strong culture, good people. Some of our employees at the home office have been there for 18 plus years. I mean, right there
Wow.
tells you people want to stay with Murphy. And we also have brokers that have been with us 20 plus years. So the culture's there. It's just time to shake things up a little bit so that we can become the world's biggest business broker.
It's a great goal.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. If you can go back in time and meet yourself the day you founded your first company, what advice would you give yourself?
So focus on what you find, right? Don't get so wrapped up on working in the business. Work more on working on the business. Think about the big picture, the strategic things that need to happen to really make a business grow. It's so easy, especially in the beginning, to get into all the, I'm going to say it, the minutia, the little things that don't mean anything. They still have to get done, right? But if you're the business owner, if you're the leader, you need to focus on the big things to get things done. Also, trust yourself, right? If you set a goal, if you create a plan, if you put together a strategy, there's a reason you did that. So don't listen to the noise, because there's always going to be a naysayer. There's always going to be someone that says that'll never work. You need to stick to your plan, put your blinders on, and you find what you focus on.
I love that. Stay focused is definitely
Yeah.
great advice for sure. So tell me, when you're in your free time, tell me a little, what do you do? What do you enjoy doing?
Well, family time is everything to me, right? Obviously, you've learned from this conversation today that I love what I do work wise, and I always have. My husband kind of laughs at me because he probably like to be on the golf course more, and I want to be in my office. So we're a little different that way, which is good.
Yeah,
But I really love working and I really love my family. So I really do try to create a lot of balance, especially with my granddaughters. I have three and I love them dearly. Typically on the weekends, you'll find me in the kitchen. I come from a super strong Italian family, so I'm a really good cook. But with cooking as much as I do, I have to find balance in other things. So I also try to stay physically and mentally very fit. I'm an avid runner. You'll often find me in a hot Pilates studio. I just started to experience cold plunges, which have been mentally just reinvigorating for me. I love them. But there's no doubt that I believe that you can't be great at your work if you are not good to the house that holds you. So I need to balance things.
I agree. Work-life balance is definitely very,
Mhm.
very important. I love to run as well,
Ah,
so I
good.
love it. It's mental clarity
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
Um, is there anything we didn't mention about Murphy that you would like to touch upon?
Murphy is an amazing company. We're growing. Check us out. The best way to check us out is you can either go to my LinkedIn page. You can also go to murphybusiness.com. There's some great articles that you can read on there. You can learn a little bit about me and my leadership style. If you're ever thinking about changing careers, you'll know who will help you get started. Yeah, I think this is going to be an amazing journey, and I'm very excited about it.
Yes. And I will say, I love your articles. I agree. I would say that to all the listeners. If you just want to know what a business broker is, a little bit about Murphy, how to become a franchisee, or business broker under somebody else, your articles are incredible. And I would stop by your LinkedIn page and read them for sure. I think they give a lot of great advice for sure. I read them. I've been a broker for a while, and I read them, and I always learn something every single time I read them. So they're excellent for sure. And like I said, I agree. If they want to become a franchisee, what's the best way to kind of sense, but what's the best way to get in contact? Who should I contact if I want to become a
Yeah,
franchisee?
just go to murphybusiness.com and all the information's on there. We'll make sure to reach out to you. Someone will give you a call back. If you want to sell or buy a business, same thing. Murphybusiness.com is the place to go. And we'll set you up with an amazing partner to help you move forward.
Excellent. Yeah, I will say that that's another thing I love about Murphy is there are so many experienced brokers that are definitely willing to help you. I mean, very, very successful people, and they always take the time. And there's too many to name, and I don't want to miss anybody, but I know there. I mean, I can name 5 or 10 off the top of my head that are always so helpful, which I think makes Murphy different just for that reason.
Oh,
Very cool.
absolutely. And many of them have been amazing, people for me as I'm going through this journey. I'm learning from them, and we all need to be open to learning from one another. Some of these individuals that are business brokers with Murphy, like I said, 20 plus years, I need to listen to what they're saying because they've got a great
Yeah,
business out there.
no, I agree. Well, Veronica, I want to thank you for a great time. I learned a lot. I hope the audience learned a lot. So thank you so much for spending the time with me.
Thank you, Bill. It was great doing this today, and I really appreciate you inviting me.
No problem. I want to thank you, audience. If you learned something today, laughed, please tell somebody about us, the podcast, and also Murphy Business. Thank you again, Veronica. This has been another exciting episode of Steel City Growth. See you next time. That's a wrap on another episode of Steel City Growth. Thanks for joining us. For show notes and more, visit steelcitygrowth.live. Until next time.